What are you staring at? You're a stranger now.
I turned around and there was my mother-in-law with a smirk on her face. She looked at me as if she were looking at trash. I had a lot on my mind, but I tried to keep my composure and sat back. Yes, I know. But this house?
What? After all this time? It's no use apologizing. Get out of my son's house as fast as you can.
I understand. The movers will be here shortly.
Oh, well, can you make it quicker?
She must be quite happy to live alone and doting on her son. Her own son lives in a condo. Now all that is left is for me to get divorced and for me to leave, and all will be well for her. She must be thinking like that. But I'm sorry to hear that. Do you think you can get what you want after mocking people so much? I won't let that happen. I'm going to push you to the limit. My name is Cecile. I am 29 years old. I got married 2 years ago, and now I work for a company. I met my husband Douglas 4 years ago. He was working at a factory that was a subcontractor of our company. We first met at a business meeting. I was one in charge of the meeting, and I went to the factory, but he was also the liaison. In between meetings, we began to do small talk and naturally grew closer. We became attracted to each other, and eventually he asked me to go out with him. After 2 years of dating, we successfully made it to the finish line. My family and colleagues congratulated me, but my good friends were a little concerned. The reason was that my husband's income was lower than mine. My company is a fairly large one, and even I, as a woman, earn nearly twice as much as my age. In contrast, my husband, who is the same age as me, earns less than half my income. Why would you marry someone who earns more than half as much as you do? I was asked many times by good friends, but I didn't care about money. I have never had much of an appetite for material things, and I buy only the bare minimum of clothing. I have plenty of money saved up, and if I had to spend it on someone I liked, I wouldn't begrudge it. That's what I thought. Now, because of this personality, I didn't mind marrying Douglas. But I didn't realize at the time that my marriage to Douglas was going to be a huge mistake for me. After about a year of marriage, we moved to a condo. The reason was that my husband started saying that he wanted to live there at least once in his life. I was against it at first because it came out of the blue. But once he starts talking, he never backs down. On this particular day, he started talking to me again.
Let's move to a condo.
You're talking about that again. I'd rather save up and buy my own home than move to a place like that.
In this day and age, owning your own home is nothing but a disadvantage. It costs a lot of money for the land, and it takes a lot of time and effort to maintain. On the other hand, with a condominium, the management company takes care of everything.
That's true, but...
Right? And their security is the best. I'm just worrying about you.
You worry about me? I still don't know if my husband really thought so at the time. It may have been just a stopgap lie to get us to move to a condo. Still, I felt that he was thinking about me that much. I was so pleased with my husband's love that I listened to his request. We decided to move to a condo. Naturally, all the initial and moving costs were waiting for me. I was also the owner of the condominium, but he and I accepted it as a matter of course. However, right after we moved in, I began to feel uncomfortable. It was because my mother-in-law started to stay at the condo on a regular basis. Of course, it was my husband who invited her, but even so, it was too frequent. At first, it was once a week, then 2 days a week, then 4 days a week, and the frequency of visits gradually increased. Today, when I came home again, I found my mother-in-law in the living room. I was stunned, but she smiled and started talking.
Oh my God, Cecile! Welcome home.
What are you doing in our house, Joanna?
Oh, you didn't hear? Douglas gave me a duplicate key the other day. He said I could come over whenever I wanted. That's why I came early today.
I didn't know that. And I didn't know that you would just show up without any notice.
That's fine. We're a family. I don't need to call you every time I go to my son's house.
Oh no. I was at a loss for further words because of the difference from my common sense. In contrast to my standing still, my mother-in-law started humming and rummaging through the refrigerator. Finally, she took out the cream puffs I had bought.
I'm hungry, so I'll have some.
And started eating them without permission. I couldn't believe it. Did my mother-in-law really have such a lack of common sense? No matter how much she's my mother-in-law, doesn't she usually not have this much discretion? I was surprised that my own common sense and that of others were so different. The reason why I couldn't speak out strongly was because she was my husband's mother. I had a lot of things I wanted to say, but I could not say them to my mother-in-law. So one evening, I decided to talk to my husband about it. Hey Douglas, about your mother. Could she come a little less often? My husband frowned and said in a pained tone,
Oh, why are you unhappy with my mother's visits?
I mean, it's fine for her to come to our house. It's just that she comes too often. Besides, why did you have to give your mother a duplicate key? It's just that when I come home from work and she is there, I'm surprised and I don't feel at ease.
She's family too. She cares about us.
So don't talk like that. That's not what I'm talking about.
Anyway, I'll let her do whatever she wants. You're just my wife, so don't be too bossy with my mother.
My husband, who was so kind to me when we were dating, and yet, and at the beginning of our marriage, seemed to have changed recently. Especially when it comes to my mother-in-law, he relentlessly stands up to her and blames me. My husband puts my mother-in-law before me. This was the moment when I became aware of the discomfort I had been pretending not to notice. After I told my husband about this, he started coming home late. He had rarely worked overtime in the past, but now he comes home in the morning several times a week. The fact that my husband comes home late inevitably means that he spends more time with his mother-in-law. Although they don't live together, my mother-in-law has started to stay over without a care in the world. Each time, she complained about my housework.
These side dishes are not well seasoned. A wife should take care of the house, not a job. That's why Douglas doesn't come home anymore.
The list goes on and on. All of these are unreasonable arguments. Every time she complains, my heart's gradually worn away. My husband doesn't come home very often, and when I try to talk to him, he gives me a disapproving look. I have been unable to tell him what was going on. Then one day, on a holiday, my husband had gone out in the morning. My mother-in-law also did not come today. I started to clean the house to enjoy my time alone for the first time in a while. I vacuumed the living room and hallway, and finally went to my husband's room. As I was mopping under the bed, I suddenly saw a receipt. What? What is this? The receipt was for a place used by men and women to engage in dubious activities. I checked the date and found that it coincided with the day he had to come home in the morning because he had to work overtime. Convinced that my husband was cheating on me, I immediately searched through the closet. I found a small paper bag in the bag. It contained a list of restaurants he might have gone to with his cheating partner. There was also a large number of receipts for brand names items that he had bought for her. Douglas had recently asked me to reduce our living expenses in the name of saving money for our newborn child. I didn't think much of it at the time, but now I realize that it was probably a lie to pay for the affair partner. The next day, I went to a detective agency that I had researched beforehand and asked them to investigate my husband's affair. I acted normal at home so that my husband and mother-in-law would not know. 2 weeks later, I went to the detective agency to get a report. My husband was having an affair with the daughter of the factory president. With the evidence in hand, I decided to wait for my husband to come home that night. He came home after midnight as usual, and I immediately started talking to him. "Douglas, you were cheating on me, weren't you?" My husband had his back to me, but the moment he heard those words, his shoulders jolted. He slowly turned around and began to make excuses with a limp smile. "What are you talking about? I would never cheat on you." "I already have proof. You can't get away with it." No. It's not like I'm playing around with her." "I don't care if it's for fun or not. You can't have that kind of relationship with her. And it's true that you lied to me." "Well, that's..." "Anyway, I can't do it anymore. I've decided to get a divorce." I took out my completed divorce papers and held them out in front of my husband. His eyes widened for a moment. Then he clicked his tongue and began to feel them out roughly. The next day, I went to the office to get Douglas out of the house. I called the movers to have Douglas removed from the house for the next holiday. I didn't tell him about it, but he has a family home, so he would have no trouble finding a place to go. I will just cancel the lease there, as next month is the new renewal month for this condo. I had decided to move to another apartment near the office. 1 week later, on this day, the movers were supposed to come this afternoon. Douglas was off work and had been home since the morning. He proudly called his cheating partner. "I've already hired a lawyer and have already filed a claim for compensation against Douglas and the cheating partner. I will soon receive a certified letter, and when that happens, the factory where he works will find out. The affair will be exposed to the president of the company as well." However, Douglas may be relaxed now that the divorce has already been finalized. He is having a nice phone conversation with his partner. While I was doing housework with him in the background, the intercom rang. I opened the front door to find my mother-in-law standing there. She was carrying a large carry-on case, and she was walking into the house. I don't know why she was carrying such a large baggage, but she must have come to stay without permission as usual. While I was doing my chores without paying attention to her, she called out to me from behind. "Why are you still here? You are an outsider now, aren't you?" I turned around to see my mother-in-law smiling wickedly at me. She looked at me as if she were looking at trash. I had a lot on my mind, but I just kept my composure and sat back. "Yes, I suppose so. But this house? What? It's no use apologizing now. Get out my son's condo as fast as you can." "Huh? Didn't you hear me? I said get out. You're divorced, aren't you? Then there's no reason for you to be here. From today, I'm going to live here." At that moment, I felt my sympathy for them disappeared. I found myself lowering my voice and saying in return, "Okay, I understand. The movers will be here in a few minutes." "Oh, well, can you make it quick?" "Even just for a second. I guess she is quite happy to live alone with her son. After all, her own son lives in a condo. All that is left is for me to get divorced and for me to leave, and all will be well for her." She must be thinking like that. But that's unfortunate. Do you think you can get what you want after mocking people so much? I won't let that happen. I'm going to drive you to the brink. And there you are. The movers arrived just in time. I unlocked the entrance and invited them in. "Please take care of everything in that room. Oh, and please leave the living room as it is." I gave the order, and the contractors entered Douglas's room and immediately began working. "Hey, what's going on? What do you mean? You're the one who's leaving. So why don't you just move your stuff out?" Apparently, Douglas really thought he could continue to live in the house after the divorce. This place was originally contracted in my name, and I had paid the rent. Anyone who thinks about it knows that he won't be able to live here if he gets divorced. And his mother, she also really thought that she and her son would be able to live in the house after I left. This is why she came all the way here today with her large luggage.
What do you mean?
I said coldly to my mother-in-law, who was yelling at me.
What's the meaning of all this?
Do you know why I divorced him in the first place? It was because he cheated on me.
So what? You are a narrow-minded woman who can't forgive a man's cheating or two. Don't you dare sit on your hands like that.
What did you say? Perhaps you don't know that this room is rented in my name and that I have been paying all the rent.
What do you mean? I thought Douglas was renting this condo.
My mother-in-law looked at my ex-husband, but he quickly looked away. He was probably lying to make himself look good. Meanwhile, more and more of Douglas's stuff was being moved out.
Hey, where are you taking my stuff?
He was panicking, so I said to him, "Where's it going to?"
"Your parents' house."
"It's good that you have a place to go." "Well, I don't know what your strict father will say."
"Wait a minute. If my dad finds out about this, I beg you, please, forget me. I'll do anything."
"If you will do anything, then get out of my sight right now. I'll never forgive you and your mother. You are a distraction to my life. You're disgusting. Get out of my life."
We've been together this whole time. We trusted each other as husband and wife.
Who is the one who broke that trust? You live in a condo you want, you let your mother do whatever she wants, and you betrayed me behind my back. How's that? Satisfied? I bet you must have been very vain to be able to live in a tower block with your wife's money.
Cecile, don't say that. Let's talk about it. Let's talk.
No. Get your mother and get out of here. I'm not the one who's living in this room. You are. I guess they were surprised by my anger, which I had never shown before. Douglas and my mother-in-law grabbed their belongings and ran away. Then, they went back to their hometown. At first, they kept the divorce from my father-in-law. However, he found out everything by the certified letter from the lawyer's office. My father-in-law was furious and kicked Douglas out of the house, disinheriting him. My father-in-law called me to ask about the situation, so I told him about it. He told me that he had finally decided to divorce my mother-in-law. They were kicked out of their house and moved into a one-room apartment. However, when the president of the company he worked for found out about the affair, Douglas was fired immediately. Douglas was also cut off from the daughter of the company president with whom he was having an affair. He lost his job and had nothing left. Now, he and his mother are working part-time to make ends meet. He got what he deserved. Suck on that. As for me, I have moved to an apartment near my office. I'm living a peaceful life. I am now able to save a lot of money for rent and living expenses. Now that I'm single again, I'm thinking of going on a trip by myself again. I think about it as I look at the travel brochure I saw. From now on, it would not be a bad idea to try to live for myself. I was finally able to think this way. My husband stammers in response to the insults from his affair partner. He looks like nothing more than a fool. And then he looked at me as if asking for help.
Kim, this is just,
Don't you remember? It was you who brought up the divorce, right?
Well, yeah, but please, Kim, can't we just forget about it?
Who said he wanted to divorce me because he got a girlfriend, now tries to get down on his knees begging for forgiveness. The scene is nothing short of comical. I had no idea that our surprise plan would work so well. Then I said to my husband, trying not to laugh, "It's your fault, you know? Well then, let's make sure you compensate me properly for the emotional pain I've suffered." Pale-faced, my husband crumpled to the spot. "My name is Kim. I'm 33 years old. I was born to parents who ran a small theater company. As a child, I dreamed of becoming a stage actress. But as I grew older, I drifted further and further away from that dream. It is not that I lost my dream, but I longed for an ordinary life rather than the glamour of the stage. My parents did not force me to stay on the stage, and my relationship with them is still very good. I married my husband Zach 6 months ago. We didn't have a wedding ceremony. We've known each other for a very long time. During our 8 years of relationship, we've had our ups and downs along the way. So, despite being newlyweds, we already have the atmosphere of an old married couple. However, Zach's behavior had been strange lately. I can see he changed his style. We've been together for so long that Zach never cared about dressing up in front of me, except for his work suit. But now, he started buying fashion magazines, wearing trendy clothes, and styling his hair neatly. Even though his fashion sense might still be lacking, he has good raw material. I couldn't help but feel excited seeing him making an effort to dress nicely. Is he trying to please me? Hey, babe, what's gotten into you? All of a sudden, you look handsome today. Curious? I asked him, and then,
Huh? What? Nothing.
Zach? He's flustered, clearly showing suspicious behavior. It's as if he knows there's something wrong when I mention his fashion. I was disappointed that it didn't seem to be for me. Right after, my infidelity detection switch, which had been dormant until now, turned on. He's had a few affairs before, mostly drunken one-night stands or casual flings. We've had fights, but somehow we always manage to reconcile. Perhaps it's because I built up some immunity to that kind of thing. I'm not feeling devastated. I just felt a bit upset and sad. After that, our days went on as usual. And then, half a month later, it was Zach's birthday. We had plans to meet outside and have a fancy dinner. It would be our first birthday celebration since we got married. So I thought it would require some special arrangements. Some might think it's strange for me to make an effort for a possibly unfaithful husband, especially as newlyweds. But that's precisely why I had decided to turn a blind eye to a single act of infidelity if it meant winning his heart back. With this thought in mind, I headed to the restaurant where we were to meet. When I arrived, my husband had not been there yet. A little nervous, I waited for him to arrive. However, Zach didn't show up, even after the appointed time. What a situation, I thought to myself. Reluctantly, I had dinner alone, as I had made a reservation. The food and wine I had reserved to celebrate my husband went to waste. I almost cried a little with emptiness. When I returned home, my husband wasn't there. I couldn't reach him for the whole time. Eventually, he stumbled home in the early evening, completely wasted. Where were you? We had plans, remember?
Oh, I was out drinking with friends.
With who?
Yeah, with friends.
His noticeably diminished IQ, perhaps due to intoxication, is unable to come up with a proper response. But we had plans for your birthday.
I guess I forgot.
My husband grinned as he openly admitted it. He doesn't even bother to make any excuses. In the morning, I had told him, I'll wait for you at the restaurant. And yet he did this. We've only married for 6 months, and he's already shamelessly cheating. The next day, Zach acted as if nothing had happened and talked to me as usual. No apology. On top of that, he started texting and calling the other woman in the next room. I wished he would understand how uncomfortable it made me feel listening to them through the thin wall. When he changed his appearance, I thought I could handle it to some extent. But now, with his blatant behavior, that feeling faded away. Time passed without any countermeasures. And then, to my surprise, he even ditched his company's party. As a result, I had to attend alone. As I was walking back home, feeling down, something caught my attention across the street. There was my husband with another woman. It wasn't the woman I had seen on his phone screen. I had thought it was just Abby he was cheating with. But could it be that there are multiple women involved? If it had been just a few casual flings, I might have been more forgiving. But now, I finally woke up to the reality that I didn't want a married life full of infidelity. That night, I confronted my husband. "Why didn't you come to the party?" "Huh? Was it today? Whoops, my bad. But you were fine alone, right?" "What are you talking about?" I said I forgot. You were such a hassle." "Oh, a phone call. It's from my office. Let's talk about it later, okay?" Of course, that was a lie. The voice coming from the next room clearly wasn't related to his work or business contacts. "Yeah, right. Maybe I should leave her already." And it was evident that he was talking to a woman over the phone. Then a few months passed. And on Christmas Day, my husband finally told me that he wanted a divorce. The moment I had been expecting had arrived, and I faced my husband. "Why?" Maybe it's the post-nuptial doubts or something like that, you know? As soon as we got married, I started questioning if being with you for the rest of my life was really what I wanted. I wanted to see what other girls were like, you know? But does that justify cheating? Oh, so you noticed. Did you want me to notice? I mean, it's easier for me if you were the one who wants to break up and tells your parents, you know? This scumbag's self-presentation continues. Actually, I recently met a cute girl. I had tried hanging out with a few girls, but this one is different. She's like my destiny. Seriously, she's incredibly gorgeous. When she asked for my number, I felt like I'm someone else. And guess what? She's the daughter of the company president. Not some mediocre theater group like your family runs, but the daughter of a major apparel brand. Amazing, right? Seeing him in such high spirits, I couldn't help but laugh. Fine, let's break up then. Really? Will you give me alimony though? Or sure, cause she's rich. And I'll be satisfied just cutting ties with you. Okay, but I want to meet the woman first. Can you bring her here? Huh? You want to meet her? Wow, I guess I can't help it. Saying that, my husband contacted his girlfriend, River. And an hour later, she appeared, and my husband escorted her inside. Welcome. Hi. I greeted her, and River responded with a casual hey and raised her hand. Seeing that exchange, my husband looked bewildered. Man, it's freezing today. It's been snowing. Yeah, they said it's the coldest wave of the year. Sorry, it must be difficult to find a taxi. Nah, I worked hard for this day, you know? My husband was perplexed as he watched me and River talking comfortably, as if we were old friends. River? Are you sick or something? My husband asked her. Huh? That's my natural voice. River replied to my husband's question. No, your voice sounds pretty deep. More like a guy. Just then, River interrupted. Oh no, it's the same as always. River changed her tone to a more feminine voice.
Huh? What? What's going on? Wait, do you two know each other?
Seeing the confused husband, both River and I reached our breaking point. We couldn't stop laughing. Well, River is cute, but she's really a he.
What? He?
Then River addressed him in a masculine voice.
Yeah, I'm totally a boy.
Look, check out my leg hair. See? River revealed a glimpse of hairy leg from beneath his long socks. As soon as my husband saw it, his face turned pale.
But Zach loves me just the way I am, including these hairy legs.
Right, Zach? Saying that, River approached my husband and linked arms with him, exerting a strong grip.
Wait. What does this mean? What's happening?
Why don't you tell him, Cam?
Oh, well, this is too good. I'm sorry. Alright, yep. The truth is, River is my cousin.
Cousin?
Yeah. Since childhood, he has been performing as a female impersonator on stage. Not only does he have a slender figure, but his gestures are also perfect, right?
So River is really a guy?
Yes. And his main job now is voice acting, so he can change his voice too.
Oh no. No.
That's right. I got hair removal for my beard. But I'm being careless about the parts you can't see.
Yeah. So, basically, once I found out you were cheating, I asked the River to set up a trap for you. I knew your taste in women, so I prepared everything for you to cheat.
And of course, being the daughter of a company president was a big lie.
Exactly. We just piled up all the elements that we knew you would like. My husband looked like he was about to roll his eyes at our expose.
But River, didn't we kiss?
Huh? That's like a fly landing on my lips. If it's for work, there are plenty of kissing scenes, you know.
My husband groaned in bewilderment.
So that's why you didn't let go beyond the kiss.
Huh. Then should we try it now?
River responded with a grin. My husband's face contoured even more. River, please stop. It's just too funny. By the way, you pay the full amount of compensation, right? Besides, I know you've been cheating with other women.
Wait, no.
It's too late for that now. If I had intention of starting over, I wouldn't have asked River to do something like this in the first place.
But River said she's rich. That's why... this is a scam. She lied to me.
My husband shouted. You cheated, and now you're accusing others of scamming? You have some nerve. Zach couldn't come up with a response to my logic. That's when... Well, since you made my cousin go through such a horrible experience, you better pay up properly. After all, your value is pretty much limited to that, you know. River, with the most menacing voice I've ever heard from him, uttered those words. His comment left my husband speechless. Then River grabbed my husband, who was kneeling on the ground by the collar, and delivered a heavy blow. That night, leaving my sobbing husband behind, River and I left the house. Since my parents' home was in another state, I decided to stay at River's place in the neighboring town for a while. A few months later, the divorce was finalized. My husband's parents apologized profusely, and strangely enough, they ended up giving me compensation as well. They said they couldn't contain their anger towards their son, so I graciously accepted. They were good in-laws, but it was a pity. My ex-husband was now seen by his superiors as a womanizing, incompetent man, and he was heavily distrusted. His boss was a woman, and the company had many female employees, as well as numerous female clients. As a result, he was systematically removed from projects, and it was only a matter of time before he was transferred to another department or resigned on his own. It served him right. Several years have passed since then. After the divorce, I became somewhat distrustful of men and couldn't bring myself to date anyone for a while. However, 2 years ago, I married a man who works as a manager at an entertainment agency introduced to me by River. It brings me great happiness to have dinner with my husband every day and to be able to bathe and change diapers for a 1-year-old daughter. But he's a wonderful husband who fully embraces being a hands-on dad. River has been worried about me since that incident, and seeing me now, he feels relieved. I am once again reminded of how fortunate I am to have such a wonderful cousin. As for River himself, it seems he has no interest in marriage. He lives happily with his 2 dogs and a cat. He seems to be in love in his own way, but he doesn't seem to be in a long-term relationship with any particular person. He's an actor, and I guess everything is a learning experiences for him. Actually, he leads my parents' theater company now. He has honed his acting skills even further, and every time I see him, he shines brighter than before. Being cheated on was a shock at that time, but through the connections and encounters with good people, I was able to recover and move forward. In order to repay the kindness I've received, I want to fully enjoy my life. I am Karen, a 42-year-old working housewife. My husband Archie runs the family farm with my in-laws. Our family consists of my husband, 2 teenage daughters, and my in-laws, making it a family of 6. I'm also involved working in the fields from early morning, assisting with vegetable sorting and shipping until evening. I handle most of the household chores as well. Despite our efforts, my husband doesn't receive a substantial income. And honestly, life is not easy. Living in the countryside, our house is large, and my in-laws often reminds us how lucky we are to live in such a ground house for free. But there's nothing good about the house being so big, except for the fact that it's difficult to clean. Moreover, my husband frequently goes out drinking with his friends on weekends, even though farmers typically doesn't have weekends off. As a result, whenever he is knocked out with a hangover, I am left with no choice but to take over his work. With his meager salary being spent on alcohol, I consistently express my dissatisfaction to my husband, which inevitably leads to fights. I often wonder why I ended up marrying into such a family, while looking at my husband snoring. However, the reason I didn't get a divorce is that I had nowhere else to go. My parents passed away early, and my brother and his wife currently live on our family home. Despite this, I found solace in one small pleasure: cooking with ingredients grown by neighboring farmers. These ingredients are usually unsellable due to their unconventional appearance, but their taste is excellent. So I make dishes and sweets using these ingredients and distribute them to the neighborhood. Everyone appreciates them, which gives me the strength to continue living with my difficult husband and in-laws. I have supported my husband for 20 years, reminding myself that even in the worst circumstances, we can survive here. This has been my daily life for a while, until an unexpected event occurred one day. To my surprise, a television crew came to interview us while we were working in the fields. It seemed to be a program about lunch at a farmer's house. My mother-in-law, thrilled, eagerly accepted the microphone. She then ordered me to prepare lunch and went upstairs to put on some makeup. I wiped the sweat off my bare face and prepared the table while my husband and father-in-law were being interviewed. The TV crew requested an authentic representation, so I set up the table as I usually would. I also added yesterday's homemade orange pound cake to the spread. Soon, my mother-in-law, wearing her favorite dress and bright red lipstick, appeared. Oh no! This table looks so rustic. It's embarrassing. Usually, we have a more glamorous setup. No, not at all. It's an ideal lunch with plenty of vegetables and some homemade cake. Amazing! The TV crew members certainly knew how to flatter. It might not have been their true opinion, but it made me happy. After the interview, we all gathered around the table, and the TV crews praised the food as they devoured everything. My mother-in-law, in her usual fashion, gave nonsensical explanations about the dishes. It was almost embarrassing to watch my mother-in-law trying to look that good. After all the filming was over, the TV crew started getting ready to leave. At any rate, I'm glad it all ended without incident. It was great. Thank you, ma'am. As the staff members were leaving, they approached me and offered words of gratitude. Apparently, they knew from the start that it was me who prepared the food. Of course, I was happy that they ate all the food, but I was also very happy that they noticed my efforts. It warmed my heart for the first time in a long time. Half a month after the interview, the show was broadcasted on TV. Relatives and neighbors were ecstatic, and our phone kept ringing throughout the day. What was interesting was that most of the scenes with the husband and in-laws were cut, and the focus was on the vegetables themselves and the food. Even so, they were snickering for a while at the fact that they had appeared on TV. However, after 3 months after the TV appearance, my husband dropped a bombshell. I've fallen in love with someone else. So, please divorce me. Huh? I was taken aback by the unexpected confession, my mind going blank. Ignoring my speechlessness, my husband continued to talk. There is a girl who approached me at the bar. She happened to see me on TV, you know. So, you're saying you're cheating on me? I asked with a trembling voice, and my husband sighed. No, it's not like that. I mean, not yet. What do you mean? When I offered to date her, she said she couldn't be with a married man. I mean, isn't she great or what? So I want to respond to her feelings. I think it's fate. Don't you know how selfish you are? This is crazy. I was about to explode with my husband's stupid words. Then suddenly, my mother-in-law appeared and spoke up. Just get a divorce already. What? I've always thought that a woman like you doesn't suit Archie. Jealousy is ugly, you know? Give up. What? Jealousy? Plus, you're someone who can't even bear a son. It's obvious that Archie deserves a younger, obedient wife who can still have children. That's right. My father-in-law, who appeared before I knew it, was grinning and nodding behind her. In utter shock, I faced my husband, who continued. You can even take the kids with you if you want. What? I want to start with a clean slate with her. You... How dare you? I'll transfer the child support payments until they finish junior high. Even if they go to high school or college anyway, they'll soon be married off, so even tuition will be wasted, right? My husband arrogantly proposed the worst thing possible. Nausea overwhelmed me, and I fled from the house as if escaping. he could discard his blood-related daughter so easily. It's sickening, sad, and empty. What were the past 20 years of my life? But first, how do I explain this crazy situation to my daughters? No matter how I do it, I'm sure it will hurt my daughters. Above all, how will the three of us, my daughters and I, live from now on? Dizzy from the despairing situation, I involuntarily curled up in despair. "Mom!" my daughter shouted as they appeared. Oh no. Did they already hear about the divorce? I'm sorry, girls. Maybe it's all my fault, I replied in a voice that sounded as if it were squeezed out of me. Then my younger daughter, with tears in her eyes, said, "Mom, no, it's not your fault.
We don't need such a family. I don't care. Let's leave."
My oldest daughter continued, rubbing my back.
Me too. It's disgusting how Dad is excited about a younger girl. Grandma is the worst. She's been mistreating you for a long time.
They don't deserve us.
Let's just leave.
Just the three of us. Tears welled up as I felt the support from my daughters. I felt a sense of pride knowing that they had both grown up to be kind and resilient individuals. Yes, I must protect them at any cost. That's what I need to do as their mother. I slapped my own cheek, holding back the tears. Immediately after deciding to divorce, I contacted my older brother and his wife. They scolded me in tears, saying they wished I had consulted with them earlier. The next morning, as I packed our belongings with the children, there was commotion outside in the yard. Curious, I peeked out from the veranda and saw a young woman arguing with my husband and mother-in-law. Could that be the future bride? Just as I was thinking that, the young woman turned towards me with a demonic expression and headed my way. I instinctively took a step back, caught off guard by the force of her momentum.
Is that true that you're divorcing him? I don't know what he told you, but I don't like that man at all.
Oh, hey, what? I was surprised by the sudden accusation from the person I thought was my husband's affair partner. My husband and mother-in-law hurriedly approached. Hey, Emma, what are you saying? Don't you remember when you said that I was cool?
I never said that. I said I was a big fan of your wife, not you.
I said that so many times, didn't I? I was momentarily taken aback by the unexpected confession. Then she turned to me and started to explain.
Actually, my family also runs a farm, and I help out there too.
So I really admire how you can cook such a diverse range of dishes with the vegetables you've grown.
I genuinely respect you, ma'am.
Oh, that dishes? I prepared it, you know. My mother-in-law shamelessly throws in a lie. Then Emma glared at her. Yeah? The old lady sitting at a dining table with a face full of makeup after working in the fields. I couldn't help but burst into laughter at Emma's brutally honest remark. It just so happened that I saw your husband at the nearby table when I was out drinking with friends. So I approached him, mentioning that I'm involved in farming and that I'm a big fan of his wife. But then, yesterday, I suddenly received a message saying I've separated from my wife. I freaked out. Oh, so that's what it is. In other words, she's also a victim. My husband's eyes dart around, his mouth slightly agape. I'm sorry it turned into such a situation. We have to come all the way here.
No, I'm the one who should apologize.
It's a bit awkward. It's okay, really. I actually wanted to separate from him anyway. Huh? It's become a good opportunity. Thank you. My husband's face is filled with surprise.
To be honest, I think it's better too. He's such a loser. And speaking of which, don't you ever contact me again. Well done.
Wait a minute, Emma.
Then, my eldest daughter, who had come to the scene, glared at my husband and said, "Pathetic." The next day, ignoring my husband and in-laws, we left the house. After staying with my brother and his wife for a while, we rented a small house. The divorce proceedings were also finalized. The lawyer recommended by my brother and his wife was excellent. They not only helped with the university tuition for my daughters, but also filed for compensation for the verbal abuse and malicious behavior toward me. And then, 5 years later, I'm running a food truck at a local farmer's market in the countryside. The dishes I create using mainly vegetables are well received by the elderly and even by vegetable-hating children. Recently, I've been getting more media coverage, and there are even customers who come all the way from the city just to eat my food. My daughters, who have safely become college and high school students, help me at the truck on Sundays. I was living busy yet fulfilling days like that, when one day, my ex-husband and ex-mother-in-law suddenly appeared at my shop. "Looks like business is good. I saw it on TV. My daughter has become famous, and we are proud of it." What nonsense are they spouting out on a weekday afternoon? Huh? Daughter? What kind of joke is this? If you're not buying anything, please leave. I came to pick you up today. Huh? Your tired face on the TV screen. Well, I knew it right away. You're asking me for help, right? If you love cooking so much, why don't you open a cafe in our house? Both my ex-husband and ex-mother-in-law continue to spew convenient delusions. Years have passed, but these people haven't changed at all. Before I could respond, an employee popped her head out from the backyard. Huh? Here we go again. Delusional idiot. What the hell? My ex-husband, who was about to glare at the person who insulted him, froze in shock. Emma? Why are you here? Wearing the same apron as me. It's none other than Emma. Why? Because her father is my employer. They are even more stunned by this unexpected turn of events. Emma and I exchanged glances and smirk. The thing is, after our divorce, I ran into Emma at the local supermarket. Laughing at the coincidence, we soon became close friends. In the meantime, Emma's parents hired me. We frequently visited each other's homes and had home parties. Every time, my cooking received high praise from everyone. And 3 years ago, I decided to start my own food truck. Now I have expanded the business with franchises in other states. I even started online sales, and the business is flourishing. Thanks to the bountiful goddess you guys let go, my family is secure. Oh no, Emma. You are the goddess of good fortune to me. My ex-husband was even more dumbfounded, looking at the two of us giggling and frolicking. Now is the chance to strike. By the way, Archie, I heard you fell victim to a marriage scam. Did you get your money back? Why would you? My ex-husband's face turns pale, his eyes darting around. You thought you could deceive me, thinking I knew nothing and wanted to reconcile. But too bad for you, I still have good relationships with the neighbors. When I asked them to deliver ingredients to my shop, they gladly agreed. They also tell me all about you. Lots of things.
and with a smile on my face, I told them the one thing I want them to know the most. Oh, by the way, I'm remarried now.
What? That's a lie, right?
The subsequent lives of my ex-husband and in-laws were miserable. They couldn't repay their debts despite selling off everything, and now they were living and working on a remote farm. They were left with no option but to work tirelessly until their last breath. By the way, my new husband is the producer at that television station. Back then, he said it was delicious and gave me his business card as he left. Apparently, there was quite a response to my cooking, and there were even discussions about a sequel. But since we ended up divorcing, the plan fell through. However, it's now being broadcast with my current food truck. Thanks to my husband's show, my food truck's popularity skyrocketed, and the business became stable. If you live earnestly and honestly, there are people who recognize your actions. Life is not as bad as you might think. Hello, what would you like today? I continue to imagine the smiles that awaits at the end of my cooking, living in this place.